Next part is on scope of this legislation. So this code is exhaustive on matters specifically dealt with by it. However, it is not exhaustive on points not specifically dealt with therein. The legislature is incapable of contemplating all the possible circumstances which may arise in future litigation and consequently for providing procedure for them. With regard to those matters, the court has inherent power to act according to the principles of justice, equity, and good conscience. Now, when a law is introduced, take for example, today we want to introduce a law on certain matter. Might be there are like 10 very intellectual persons sitting there for drafting this legislation, but those 10 people can think about only limited situations, only about limited possibilities. And taking all of those things into consideration, they will frame a legislation. But in the years to come, there will be so many other situations, so many other types of disputes or other areas which may be highlighted before the court. Because humanly, it's not possible for us to think about all the possible outcomes or situations. So it says that this code of civil procedure, whatever best possible situations it could think of, all of those situations are taken into consideration. For that, law is being framed and provisions of CPC are exhaustive. It includes everything and that will be applied for those matters. But then it's not possible to think about all the given situations. So if there are certain situations, certain areas that CPC has left out, those areas will be, like how will court decide? Because court still needs to decide on such matters. So court will decide based on the principles of justice, equity, and good conscience, because law is not properly set there. So it's very clearly mentioned in Code of Civil Procedure itself. What is principle of justice, equity, and good conscience? Have you got it somewhere?
I'm not recollecting.
No, okay. So justice, equity, and good conscience basically means that otherwise we have written laws, we have legislations, we have different codes. So when a matter comes before court will look at the legislation, whatever provisions are there, court will try to apply it in the given situation. If there is a case of theft, case is being filed before the court will open IPC, court will see the ingredients. If the ingredients are present, court will say it is a case of theft and punishment will be given whatever is mentioned in IPC. But what about these situations wherein law is not yet properly set? In such cases, court applies principles of justice, equity, and good conscience, wherein judges will try to apply their mind and judges will try to see what is the best possible thing that they can do. Okay, what will provide, what is just in this given case, so that neither of the parties are suffering, neither of the parties are losing out on their rights. Okay, based on equity, court would try to provide a decision so that both the parties are in, like it can be balanced in a certain way, we can say. Okay, so whenever CPC has not mentioned the process, CPC is silent on certain matters, those matters will be dealt with by the court through the principles of justice, equity, and good conscience. Court or the judges will try to apply their mind, whatever best they can do in that given situation, they will do that only. Okay.
Yeah. Is it like restricted to only district courts have the power?
Actually,
or anything like that?
No.
From civil
No.
procedure?
See,
No.
CPC would be applicable even if there is like a civil appeal filed in the High Court or Supreme Court. It will be applicable, right? All the matters, same procedure will be applied. But this principle of justice, equity, and good conscience, it's not even only limited to civil laws. It is applicable in civil, criminal, in any kind of matters. Court can apply the principles of justice, equity, and good conscience, and court can give a decision based on that. It's not just limited to CPC. Like there was one case under Indian Contract Act, you will read it sometime. So what happened there, right? Otherwise, a minor is not entitled to enter into a contract, right? The person has to be a major person above 18 years. Plus, there is also one like provision under Indian Contract Act, which says that, take for example, today I'm saying something, okay, like I'm entering into a contract with you and I have made some promise. Tomorrow, I cannot say the opposite of it. All right, I will be restricted by court. Court will stop me from saying something opposite to what I had said yesterday. So yesterday, if I had promised that, okay, I will do this, today I cannot say that, no, I'm not doing it. Court will ask me to pay compensation, or court will ask me to perform that specific thing. All right. But in case of minor, that rule is not applicable because minor is not entitled to enter into a contract itself. So if minor is saying something today, tomorrow they can say the complete opposite of it also. Law will not restrict them because they are not entitled to enter into a contract. So that is a set rule. But then in a certain case, right, what happened is there was a minor. He misrepresented himself to be a major person in front of another, and he said that I'm having this property, I'm a major person, I want to sell this property to you, okay, for the certain amount. And the other person also agreed. He paid half of the price of that property, okay, and he said this remaining half also I will pay. He signed on a paper. After taking this payment, minor said, I'm minor. I'm not bound to perform this contract. I'm not returning you the money. And also, I'm not giving you possession of this property. That means minor tried to take advantage of this position, right, of this law, which is there in Indian Contract Act. In that case, court applied the provisions of justice, equity, and good conscience. Court said that, okay, fine, under Indian Contract Act, law is already said that minor is not bound by the contract. Minor is not bound by the promises that he has made. But we cannot allow the minor to take unfair advantage of that situation. So what we can do is we will apply justice, equity, and good conscience. And court said that, yeah, minor is not bound by the contract. So you are not bound to give possession of the property, but for sure you are bound to return the payment. That is nothing but equity, justice, and good conscience. What is best possible thing that you can provide, that will be provided. That is what the concept is all about, okay? Now, where is this code applicable? Application of this code, because there has to be some jurisdiction where it applies. So what do you think is the territorial jurisdiction of Code of Civil Procedure? Where is it applicable?
Is it across India?
Across India, okay. Any exceptions? Because most of the legislations you will see, right, it applies in entire India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So what about Jammu and Kashmir?
I think Jammu and Kashmir is also included after the.
Okay. After?
Yeah, recent removal of Article 370.
Correct.
Not sure, but.
Correct, you are right. So, yeah. So Code of Civil Procedure, it is applicable in entire India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. But even then, if you look at the legislation, like a screen is visible, right? Different part.
Yes. So
even now, if you see, it extends to the whole of India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It still mentions except state of Jammu and Kashmir. And same happens for most of the other laws also. And that time we may get confused that is it applicable in Jammu and Kashmir or is it not? Okay. if you have that question anytime for any legislation, you can always open this legislation. Okay, it is called Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act. Okay, in this legislation, Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, here what happens is there is one schedule, fifth schedule. Fifth schedule provides for list of central legislations in India, which were previously not applicable in Jammu and Kashmir, but now after removal of the special status, these laws will be applied in Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, and there are around, I think, 106 laws, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 106 laws. There are 106 laws passed by parliament, which will now be made applicable in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, it's practically very difficult to amend every single law, right? Just one word we need to remove. For that, it's very difficult to amend all those 106 laws. So rather than doing all that stuff, what they have done is in this schedule itself, fifth schedule, they have clearly mentioned. Okay, if you look at the starting part, see name of the act, section or amendments. What has been amended in this legislation? Central laws made applicable to Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Union Territory of Ladakh. That means all these laws are now applicable in Jammu and Kashmir. And this part which I told you, right, still it mentions Jammu and Kashmir. We should omit this part because it is written here. Okay, if you see,
right,
say Code of Civil Procedure, it will be mentioned. Yeah, Code of Civil Procedure, Clause A, subsection 3 of Section 1. So what is it? Section 1, subclause 3A, it has to be omitted. That means this state of Jammu and Kashmir is being omitted, and CPC is, as you said, correct, applicable in Jammu and Kashmir as well as Ladakh. But there are tribal areas like Nagaland and some other areas. Just like how special status was given to Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, Jammu and Kashmir special status was like at this level. Okay, they had special status for all the matters except for 3 defense and two other. Okay, everything else they had full control. But there are certain other tribal areas wherein constitution provides for some special status to them, not like as compared to Jammu and Kashmir, it's like very minimum. Okay, certain here and there, some provisions are not applied. In some matters, they are given a bit of liberty because tribal community needs some sort of like, they want to like preserve their culture and stuff like that. All right, so Nagaland is not governed by this regular courts. Okay, like we have IPC, we have CPC, they have their own customary laws which are applied there. Okay, for all the matters that will be followed. Like CRPC, if you compare, you can compare it with the customary laws of Nagaland. Okay, along with Nagaland, there are some other tribal areas where few here and there, few things will not be applicable. Apart from this, entire India, it is applicable. Code of Civil Procedure is applicable. Okay. That was about the application of this legislation, history of this legislation, scope of the act.